Well, with so much of the country suffering from the intense heat and heat wave, some of them have rain. Down here in South Texas, we're in the middle of a long drought. It's been months since we've had a day that hasn't hit somewhere over 100. So I thought it might be a good idea to show you some of the drought-tolerant landscape plants that we've used, besides our obvious prickly pear that just grow on their own. But it's kind of interesting to see how well many of these plants do with a lack of any additional watering. It's kind of amazing. Here, it's, as you can tell from the land around here, it's quite dry, it's quite parched. We had hopes for Hurricane Don to give us some water, but it didn't happen. So I thought, it's not really vegetables, it's not really gardening, but in case you're trying to come up with some ideas for landscaping around your place, maybe this will give you some ideas of some good old-fashioned water-sipping plants that'll continue to thrive without you dumping a bunch of expensive water in them. Even if you're in an area that has a lot of water now, it might be something to consider because you have to pay less for the water that you throw out on your plants. Let's go take a look. One of the best plants for drought tolerance that'll take all of this nasty heat we can throw at it. We're in zone 8B here, so you may want to consider what zone you're in. But if you're looking for some color, for something that attracts bees and hummingbirds and butterflies, you can't beat something called Salvia gregi, just plain old salvia. You can see we got bees over there, we got bees over here. It takes a lot of heat that gets thrown at it. These were cut back, way back almost to the ground here this spring because of a freeze we had. And already they're rebounding back here. The bees are going crazy. You don't want to upset them too much, but it's a great plant. That Salvia gregi, it's got a little bit of an aroma to it. It's the deer leave it alone. That's the best thing about it. So how can you beat it? Poor soil. It takes very little water. It takes the heat. The insects love it, and the deer hate it. Salvia, give it a try. Another great drought-tolerant plant for you to consider, assuming you're far enough south. We're in zone 8B. It's generally considered about a zone 8 through 10. Is the Mexican fan palm, Washingtonia robusta. It loves the heat. It's extremely drought-tolerant, and what helps us quite a bit here in South Texas, we do get a little bit of cold weather in the winter, so it's very cold tolerant too. But if you're in, like I said, zone 8 through 10, 11, give it a try there if you like palms, or I do. It's very robust. It's taken a beating, let me tell you, and we keep it pruned, trimmed back, and it comes right back. It's a really good drought tolerant plant to consider. Give it a try. Another Texas native that really works well in drought conservation and very hot areas is a desert willow, Chilosis linearis. It has very pretty pink buds that come out on it. It's very drought tolerant. It really helps attract hummingbirds and butterflies. Not quite so much the hummingbirds, at least not that I've seen, but it is a very beautiful tree. It's another Texas native and grows nicely in hot and dry areas. Of course, there's a good old redbud tree, eastern redbud, Cercis canadensis. This is an Oklahoma redbud. I believe it's called Cercis texensis. Just in the spring, it is an explosion of red buds, flowers all over the place, as it was earlier this spring. But throughout the rest of the year, it's very drought tolerant, very solid tree. Another one to consider is the Vitex plant, Texas lilac, Vitex agnus castus. It produces very pretty orange blossoms throughout the year. It's very drought tolerant. It produces all sorts of seeds, so you can propagate it quite easily and move it up to wherever you want to place them. Excuse me. And very bushy. This again was cut way back this spring, and it's coming quite out. Earlier in the year, as you could see, we had lots of very beautiful lilac colored flowers. So it's another good drought tolerant, heat tolerant plant for the landscape. Another one to consider in zones, I think it's 8 through 11, is the Texas sage, Lycophyllum frutescens. And it produces a very nice shrub, very hardy, takes very little water. It resists deer. The deer leave it alone for some reason. And it is full of these little pink flowers off and on throughout the year. It just bursts into bloom, and it's very pretty with these little red or pinkish flowers, and it's just an explosion of color. You can't beat it. They're great drought tolerant plants for your own little landscape. Another thing to watch out for in the drought is your garden. This was one of my nice little stripy heirloom tomatoes, but as you can see, the birds decided or learned that by hitting the tomato, they can get liquid water and go that way, not to mention the material from within the plant. So watch your garden. If you get into a drought condition, cover it with some sort of shade material, bird netting, something, and you won't have to deal with this.